What's good, everyone? It's your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself, and today we're going to take a look at Gigginox. I think I said that wrong, but take a look at Gigginox. There we go. Gigginox is a monster who was introduced in the 3rd generation, and truth be told, I think Capcom hates it too. And maybe if I keep saying that, it'll make his return in the 5th generation, because I totally made a whole video about how Capcom hated Sergios, and Sergios is now back. So you can all thank me for that, my sacrifices, and all the good stuff. Nevertheless, so Gigginox has now made a return since the 3rd generation and has been locked in that one particular generation. He made his intro in Monster Hunter Tri, I think it was also in Portable 3rd and in 3U, and it's not since been in any other game since. But nevertheless, Gigginox is a favorite of mine as well, and mostly because it's like better Khezu. I mean, Khezu's cool and everything, I guess, but Khezu is a very annoying kind of monster. I mean, a lot of the things that Gigginox has going for it, Khezu kind of started with, you know what I mean? But for the most part, I still feel like sometimes the first try isn't always the best try, and it's the second try that gets it all right, and that's how I feel Gigginox is. It's just better Khezu. It's so much more cool. It has better quote-unquote gimmicks, better attacks, it's just better. So why is it better? Let's talk about the things that make it better. Not directly, but let's talk about the things that make Gigginox a Gigginox, right? Okay, so Gigginox is a flying wyvern, aka truthfully a pseudo wyvern, a wyvern whose arms and wings are combined on the same appendage. Think Nargacuga, Tigrex, Barrios, Sergios, etc. So what its biggest claim to fame is that it cannot see. It has no eyeballs, just like the Khezu had no eyeballs, so flash bombs do nothing. It's usually found in very dark places, caves and such. So in the tundra, you find them primarily, if not always, in the cave systems, because it just can't really see, and it likes to kind of venture on caves, and it also helps it in its ability to fight, because it likes to fight on the walls and also on the ceilings, much like, Khezu. Again, it's going to take a lot of, cues from it, but again, it's much better. So let's talk about what is actually different from it as opposed to what's similar. So it is a poison monster, whereas Khezu is an electric based monster. Gigginox can shoot poison from his mouth, globs of poison from his mouth, or it can actually expel it from his belly. Now, the poison expels from his belly. You should definitely watch out for this attack, because the very first foray into a unblockable attack. So without the ability guard up, you cannot block this attack. Even if you have a lance and you think you're big and bad, I'm a lancer and I think I'm big and bad all the time, I cannot block this attack. No one can. That is, of course, unless you have guard up. Now, speaking of abilities or attacks or things that you haven't had or had to worry about up until now, high-grade earplugs. You will not even have high-grade earplugs. It'll probably be insanely difficult to get high-grade earplugs, but high-grade earplugs is an ability that makes it to where you are immune to all monster roars. There are a few monsters who have roars even louder than normal, and Gigginox is one of them. The reason why Gigginox has an extra loud roar, because Gigginox has 2 orifices. That's correct. It has its mouth and whatnot in the front, and its butt, I don't know how else to say it, in the back, obviously, because the Gigginox is special in this regard. It lays eggs. Now, it lays eggs and it lays poison sacs. Now, these poison sacs, on their own, after about 2 seconds after it lays them, they explode, give off another huge burst of poison. But its eggs that it can lay is this huge egg sac. It can lay eggs, and baby Gigginox jump out of it, and they can attack you as well. Now, everything the mouth can do, the tail end can do as well. I think except throw poison. But it uses the tail end to latch onto the ceiling and actually extend its rest of its body down to the ground to do the extra attacks. But again, it can actually be used for attacking its tail end, if you will. So it would like to crane its neck out and swing back and forth with its head, and it can do the exact same thing with its tail. So again, a lot of the attacks that its head can do, the tail can do, and they work together to make this monster what it is. It's a much better monster. That's, again, how I said it roars so well, because it can roar from its butt. So is it farting? Anyway, moving on. So the Gigginox is very cool in this regard. The way in which you fight it, the way in which it attacks you, and the places in which you actually go and fight it. Originally, you had to fight this monster in the caves, and in Tri, the caves were much darker. The only way to truly see in there was to take a torch with you, and you would light these other torches. I think there was 3 torches in one area, and then 2 in another area, just to see the Gigginox in order to fight it. Now, the wildest thing is, it is a nuisance. It can crawl over to where the torches are and like drool saliva onto it to oust the torches. If the torches themselves don't oust in about 3 minute time anyway, so like you were on a time limit with the torches, because if they didn't go out by themselves, the Gigginox put the torches out itself. And it was a much more devastating fight because it was a lot harder to do because you couldn't see anything. I mean, so many cool little things that they added to the game that made fighting Gigginox so cool. That's why it's such a huge fan favorite. That's why I'm a huge fan of this monster in particular. But outside of the attacks and everything that I told you guys, I think that's essentially all you really and truly and earnestly need to really know about Gigginox. Isn't a wildly difficult to understand monster. He does have a lot of interesting things about him, but none of these things make it to where he's too overbearing. Like I said, he has the big poison attack where it rolls his body up and jumps outwards. That is an unblockable attack. It will almost always like slap you for a lot of poison. It has another belly flop attack that's actually pretty obnoxious because that's a huge hitbox. He stretches his body out when he does it, and it can land quite big in its belly area and the head region. The tail region, I believe, doesn't extend far when it does it, but it still has a very big hitbox. Speaking of weird hitboxes and belly flops, he will actually be facing you in one direction, and then he'll jump over you and then land belly flop 180 behind you. Now, I think I'm going to get this wrong. Not like this is a bit of information anyone needs to really understand anyway. In the original game, this was an overhead. It would cross you up. Excuse me, not an overhead. It was a cross up. In the direct, let's say you're looking straight ahead, just as you are probably watching this video. You're looking straight ahead, and Gigginox jumps 180 behind you, and you continue to block in the same direction. It'll still hit you. In this game, I think they changed it where whenever it does that, you can still get the block off, because before you had to actually change directions so that way you didn't get hit by it. Really small thing, really small tidbit. I can't show you footage of it because I don't have footage of it, but just take my word for it. It was really annoying. You had to learn how to block correctly, but then again, leave it to Capcom, the creator of like basically a lot of really well-known fighting games, to teach you how to block properly. With that being said, everyone, that's essentially all I really can tell you about the Gigginox. We could go about the armors and everything, but they're pretty good. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like this particular video, I came home from work and I'm like, you know what, dude, let's just talk about the Gigginox. I got some gameplay for it. And I know. Usually I talk about the armors and everything, have a little showcase and everything for the armors and whatnot, but I don't know. I just didn't feel like doing it right now in this particular time. Like the thing I was having problems with before was I was making this particular hobby feel like a lot of work. And I told myself, man, I wish I could just do it the way I want to do it without people mentally, me thinking that people are thinking how I am supposed to do things. I'm like, dude, just hop on the microphone and go butt cheeks ham. You know what I mean? Speak on your favorite monsters and keep it moving. You know what I'm talking about? So that's what I was doing today. That's what I'm doing now, and that's why I'm able to actually, well, while I'm feeling like making more content. Mostly 3U content, again, Monster Hunter stuff that I really like. I mean, Rise is cool and all, but I'm not really, I don't know. It's just, stick to things you like, guys. If you are enjoying yourself, you're having a good time. And I'm enjoying myself and I'm having a good time. I'm not as burnt out about that. But with that being said, everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to see more, let me know. And who should we cover next? Now, technically, I do have some gameplay on Ignator that I was wanting to cook up or whatever. If you want to see Ignator, let me know. If not, if you want to see a completely different monster, a monster who's not been out of the 3rd generation yet, because currently I've done 3 videos like this, I think 3 videos like this where I talked about monsters. Well, I didn't explicitly talk about monsters never made out of the 3rd generation, but I made Monster Hunter videos for 3U recently that discussed about, well, that was a discussion about monsters who themselves did not make it out of the 3rd generation. Well, it doesn't matter. Any monster in this thing, I'll do because, you know, whatever, it is what it is. But with that being said, everyone, thanks so much for watching. It's been your boy. Take care.